At this time, I'm going to call our Baldwin County Planning Commission November 2nd meeting to order. If you will, stand with me at this time. We'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Father, we're thankful to you for the day. We're thankful for this county that we live in. We're thankful for all that make this a great place to live. Our elected officials, our first responders, our staff that have made this meeting possible tonight and the preparation for it. We're thankful because it makes it a great place to live. So, Father, we thank you for all your blessings. We pray that you'll guide us in what we do tonight. May we honor you in what we do and respect each other and how we say things. So, Father, thank you for all of this. Pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll call roll. Brandon Bias, Robert Davis, Plumer Tonsmeyer, Jason Padgett, Michael Mullick,
Here.
Greg Seibert,
Here.
Bill Booyer, here, Jamie Stradiger, here. Mike McKenzie,
Here.
Glenn Seal, Diane Burnett, here. Michael Fletcher, here. Danny Bolton. Here. We have a quorum. At this time, we'll address our minutes from our last meeting. Each of you should have received those, and if there are no corrections to those, I'd entertain a motion for approval of our October 5th work session and our regular meeting.
So moved.
Is that Greg? Greg made the motion. We approve both of those sets of minutes. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, Bill, second the motion. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, for those of you that this may be your first time to come to a meeting like this, let me just explain the process that we'll go through, and I'll try to do it quickly. For those items which are public hearing items, I will open the public hearing of that item as it comes up on the agenda. Our staff will make a presentation to explain what the request is, the research they've done on it. They'll make a recommendation to us. We will then call on the owner or his representative to come up and make their presentation. And then I have a notepad. If you signed up out in the lobby, it'll show up on my screen, and I will call on you to come up and speak. Something different tonight. Normally I allow those that may not have signed up to come up and speak. I will not ask that anymore. So I'm actually encouraging you, if you didn't sign up to speak and you think you might want to speak, you need to go back out front and sign up, and it'll show up on my screen. If somebody already says what you wanted to say, you can pass. But if you get to that point and you wanted to say something, you didn't sign up, you won't get a chance to come up. So please go out and sign up if you think you might want to speak. Are we still doing the timing? So we are restricting the comments to 3 minutes. You'll hear a buzzer at 2:45. Is that right?
3 minutes.
All right, 3 minutes. All right, so when you hear the buzzer at 3 minutes, your time is up. At that time, once everybody has had a chance to speak, I will close the public hearing. And when I do that, that's so that we then can make a decision of how we want to vote on the item. And then we'll move on to the next item. I will ask, as a favor to us, you're welcome to stay and listen to other items on the agenda if you choose, but many times folks, once they've had their case, they want to leave. We would just ask that you go out to the lobby to talk, because we're going to move right on into the next item. We have 15 items on the agenda tonight, so it's a lot of things. So if you would do us a favor by just going out to the lobby, and then you can do your talking out there for as long as you need to, that will allow us to move on and not be distracted by any conversations. I think I've covered everything. If not, we'll cover it when we get to it. So with that, we're going to go to our first item, which is not a public hearing. We have a couple of those items tonight, and we'll begin with, first item we're going to bring case number SPP 23-22, which is the Darby Ridge subdivision which is later in the agenda. We're going to bring it up because there's, I think, a request to table this item. Are you going to explain this to us?
Yes, so the applicant has requested more time, and so he's asked to table it to the December meeting.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion that we do so?
So moved.
Is that Greg? All right, Greg's made a motion that we table this item to the December meeting. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, Mackenzie, second the motion. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, our next,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to just real quickly state for the record the date that that meeting will be. It will be December 7th. December
Okay.
7th.
all right, our next item is not a public hearing. It's an extension request. This is case number PER 23-18, extension request for S-21019 and S-21020, the Fairhope Falls Phase 6 and 7.
Right, and just to clarify, in your packets, it says phases 6 and 7. It was actually 6 through 9. That was a miscommunication in the application process. So here on the plat, you can see these are the phases that are involved. This will involve 242 lots. It was unzoned when it was approved. It is now zoned RSF3, but because it was unzoned, they will stick with the unzoned lot sizes. The initial approval was on January 1st of 2022. Just a location map. And so with this extension, the new deadline would be Wednesday, January 1st of 2025. And so the conditions are just that if they want an additional 12 months, they'll have to request that in writing prior to the expiration date. And any expansion or alteration of the development meeting the definition of a major change will necessitate a new review by the Planning Commission.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for staff?
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we add another condition to get an updated letter from BCSS since this is happening after the date of August when they got their denial?
A new letter.
Just get a
Is
more
that-
current letter.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll just ask them for that. I'm sure they're not going to have a problem giving it to us. We'll feel a little uncomfortable maybe adding it as a condition at this juncture since they were approved, but I'm sure they'll be happy to give it to us, and we'll ask them for that.
And when they submit the final plat, they have to submit test results, and they have to have something from all the utilities saying that they are compliant. And so you will, if they were ready for final plat by the state, we would have all the updated utility information.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is ticky-tacky, but I noticed the change date to January 1. That's obviously not a business day. Should we change that just as
Yes, I forgot about New Year's, yes. I was looking at weekends, but yes, that should be
Yeah.
January 2nd.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll change that right now. Done.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve the one-year extension with conditions set forth by staff.
Okay. Mr. Davis made a motion that we approve. Do I have a second? Mr. Seibert has seconded the motion. No, I'm sorry, Bill didn't. Bill Booyer. All right, any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Another extension, this would be case number PER 23-25, an extension request for SPP 21- and a whole bunch of 07 Silver Lake Phase 2.
Okay, this is an extension request for a 2-year extension. The original expiration is coming up December 2nd, 2023. The property was sold to Property Holders Investment LLC on or about May 16, 2022, as recorded on June 6, 2022 in a vendor's lien as per that instrument number. The lien holder, Bernard Properties LLC, has requested an extension of the preliminary plat approval as the terms of the vendor's lien have not been fulfilled, and the lien holder is moving forward with litigation on this matter, thus the delay in construction and therefore a request for a preliminary plat approval extension. There have been no significant plat changes since this has been approved. If we grant this extension, then they will still have to comply with the construction plan review through Highway. If there are any changes, then they will have to come back to us to see if we can administratively approve them, or if those changes have to come back before the Planning Commission. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the extension.
Mr. Davis made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Mr. McKenzie seconded the motion. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, our next item is a public hearing. This is case number SPP 23-20, Ship Road Commercial Park. And I will ask the question, does anybody need to disclose any prior communication on this item? Okay.
So just a little preamble. Ship Road was presented at the October 5th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. There were some comments that I've listed below that was received during the public hearing to be addressed. The need for additional turnaround, this has been provided and shown on the revised plat. Highway to review the infrastructure of existing Ship Road. This has been reviewed. They've made some additional comments, and I'll discuss that in the conditions for approval. Excuse me. So Highway has implemented some additional conditions for approval, and I'll discuss that at a later time. The courtesy review that was requested for potential alternative additional access for ingress and egress, this has been researched, and there are no other viable options available without acquisition of additional property. The traffic study was not required at this time, but has now since been added as a condition for approval. The engineer developer has provided a traffic letter regarding the projected vehicle traffic, and it has been included on the utilities page, with the majority of the truck traffic to be single unit, 2-axle trucks. Staff has met with the engineer and developer as previously mentioned, and additional conditions will be at the end. The developer has commented the potential use is primarily for subsidiary affiliates or product support for Novellis, and has revised the name of the subdivision to read Ship Road Commercial Park, and it was previously presented to you as Ship Road Industrial Park. There's no other additional changes other than showing you the cul-de-sac there on the preliminary plat. I did get an updated utility letter for water and sewer, so that has been approved, and they've included their treatment facility within that letter. One concern that will be probably brought up during the public hearing is the requirement for the fire flows to be met per the ISO requirements. Currently, they do not meet ISO requirements, and as a condition for preliminary plat approval, we asked them to revise the side lot setbacks to 11 foot, which they have. And then when they come to us before final plat approval with the infrastructure improvements to the water, they should hopefully be able to meet those fire flows. So staff has specific conditions for recommendation. Although this is unzoned, we basically gave them some references within the zoning ordinance for the uses that could be applicable to this area. It is understood that the existing stormwater facilities are only adequate to support proposed infrastructure and the proposed lots in their vacant undeveloped condition. Stormwater management facilities that comply with the Baldwin County subdivision regulations shall be provided on each parcel at the time of future development. Prior to land disturbance activities on any individual lot, the lot owner shall submit a subdivision or construction permit application to Baldwin County for an administrative review and approval of construction plans to ensure adequate drainage and no adverse impact to traffic. The applicant shall provide core sampling from a geotechnical firm for existing conditions of Ship Road in 3 locations. The core shall meet the minimum requirements of roadway buildup, for ADT greater than 750 as listed in the subdivision regulations. A traffic study will be required to be submitted with the construction plans for review. During the construction plan review, it may be determined that additional improvements will be required and will be discussed prior to the approval and issuance of a subdivision permit. And condition number 5 is before receiving the final plat approval, the water system shall meet all requirements of the current ISO fire suppression rating. These are just the general conditions. A notice of action will be issued with the conditions that are approved tonight for preliminary plat. No construction can commence without the issuance of subdivision permit. The preliminary plat will be for 24 months, at which time a final plat application fee or a permit extension request must be submitted. And then final plat application will be administratively approved, and a final plat shall be recorded within 90 days. We've asked that a note be put on the final plat to include the following. Approval of this subdivision is contingent on continued compliance with the county's commercial turnout permit, including the following conditions. And then those conditions will be determined at the time that the application is submitted to Highway for review. Then they'll set those conditions, and then they'll insert that into that note. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
And I do want to clarify something there. The conditions will be those ones that were listed on the prior slide that will go on the plat. Okay. Regarding the requirement to submit that subdivision construction permit with each separate site as it gets reviewed. Mr. Chairman, one other thing I wanted to point out, we just realized, and this is due to miscommunication on my part, that I did not have this case listed since it was old business on the sign up for the citizens. So we'll need to ask the audience generally if anybody's here to speak on this case.
Okay. So Matthew, based on what you just said, then the item related to the drainage, there will be a note on the plat that says that alerts the property owners of those individual lots they'll have to do their own drainage.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other questions for staff?
Have the interested parties in the surrounding area been notified that since the motion last month was to move it till December, have they been notified that it's been redone for this month?
Yes, we republished notice as if this was a brand new case.
And I just have a comment on some of the slides. It's still saying, or at least in our book, it's still saying industrial park, and then it goes back to commercial park.
Okay, for clarification, it is commercial park.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, if not, then I'm going to call the applicant or his representative. Want to say anything? Okay. All right, and based on what Mr. Brown told me a while ago, since I don't have anybody signed up because you didn't know, I'll just ask it this way. If you're here tonight on this particular item and you wish to speak, I'll let you come up, raise your hand, and if you'll come up to the podium in front here and give us your name and address, and then let us know what you've got.
My name is Michelle Long, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of the residents on Ship Road. Below are our concerns, I believe, are sufficient to deny the project. This project should be denied based on the regulation 5.5.12 that a permanent dead-end road shall not exceed 1,320 feet, a quarter mile, in length. Our dead-end road is being extended to almost 4,000 feet. Our paved road ends at the beginning of Mr. Patterson's dirt road that leads into what we call the dirt pit. There is a dirt trail, but no official road leading through his property that is maintained by any government office or department. Also, according to staff recommendations, one, that section 5.4B-4, major commercial district, when we read that section, it even states that businesses in this section can cause large volumes of traffic, would have a significant negative impact on adjoining properties, and that the use of have an actual or potential negative impact on surrounding properties due to the late hours of operation, noise, and or light. In the same section, it refers to this zoning designation should be limited to property fronting on principal arterials, major arterials, or minor arterials. Our dead-end road is none of those. An arterial street is defined as a street that connects areas which produce large number of trip generations. It is to move traffic and to provide access to land uses, particularly high trip generating commercial activity. Our road, as it stands now, is a very low-traffic road. We have about 11 homes on our road. Our road's purpose, as it is now, is for residents to obtain access to our homes. This increased traffic will create an unsafe environment for the people that live on Ship Road. I would like to remind you, this road is residential. We even have livestock on this road. The bus stops on our road. Changing the name from Ship Road Industrial Park to Ship Road Commercial Park, does that restrict the type of businesses that can go in this project? We understand that this project is getting a lot of support from Novellis, and it will be supporting Novellis. We completely understand that. We're not against growth. We're not against our town growing or jobs increasing. What we are against is our peace and quiet being sacrificed for that. We were there first. Our property, we bought on the ideas and dreams of peace and quiet and living our children and grandchildren a place to call theirs as well. We bought so we could grow old in our homes with peace. We ask that you please deny Mr. Patterson's application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone else? Okay. All right, I will close the public hearing. Do you have anything else you need to add? Do you want to answer any of her concerns?
I will touch on that there has been an additional turnaround added within the roadway that I will let Highway comment on, as well as there is a proposed realignment of Ship Road. And I'll defer to Tucker to comment on those two.
Okay. Do you want to add anything?
No, the cul-de-sac was added to help alleviate the more than quarter-mile turnaround. I think that's the intent of the regs for that. And then also, Mary, if you want to show the realignment, because of the Novellis site, ALDOT's requiring some improvements to be made to 287, which a new traffic signal that will be installed and to line up with the proposed new Novellis entrance. So on the screen there shows this offset that will bypass the first few residents, but should help traffic flow for the project if it is approved.
Okay.
Tucker, what's the time frame for this realignment, or are we still years away?
It's in the design phase. It's gonna happen. As far as a time frame, it's hard to tell. Within the next probably 1 to 3 years.
All right, any other questions for staff? Okay. All right, so we tabled it to get additional information, so now's your opportunity if there's, speak to the items that they've addressed, or you don't feel like they did, but if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I have one question. These cul-de-sacs proposed at the different lengths that they are, that satisfies that not more than a quarter-mile length of a dead-end road?
Yes, sir, and I'll just echo kind of what Tucker just said, deferring, of course, the highway, but our interpretation is that that's the purpose of that limitation, is so that way you can have turnarounds, and by inserting that turnaround, that resolves that issue.
And in the research that the staff did, there's no way to find another exit through maybe using the economic development funds or something like that that would bring it closer to the interstate right there on the other end of this to avoid the neighborhood?
Tucker can comment further on this, but they did look extensively at this, and there is no there's no simple option. And then you take into account the fact that these businesses are intended to serve Novellis, and you ask yourself, do we want to increase the amount of roadways that are going to be required to be covered? But even if there had been a good alternate, or even if we were willing to do that, there just was not another practical alternate route.
And the existing road will stay, correct? And the realignment will take place a little bit further down?
That's right, yeah, the existing alignment, the intersection at 287 will be removed, but a portion of the road would stay to keep access to the few houses there.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Since this is unzoned area and the residential member that is representing the group asked if it's not industrial and it's commercial, will they be held to that? I know we're putting it in a condition, but being unzoned, can that be enforced?
So we're making these conditions not of the subdivision per se, we're documenting it in the subdivision, but we're making it conditions of the commercial turnout permit, which the county engineer has broad authority to regulate and enforce. And so we do believe we can enforce that. And so we're not concerned about that. One thing that that was brought up was the fact that the B4 does say, hey, these uses should be on main roads. And you have to remember that B4 includes Chick-fil-A, it includes Walmart. Well, obviously those types of businesses aren't going to go back here because they want road frontage, and that's why you normally see them there. But there are some B4 uses, like maybe a cabinet shop or something like that, which will be the type of uses that actually in those cases, many of those tend to go further back off the road. So the zoning ordinance itself will not apply to these lots, to be clear. They are just referencing the uses allowed in those sections to limit the types of uses that will go in these lots.
But just like any other subdivision, our flexibility as a commission to do anything other than be sure that they have met the meets and bounds that are required by the subdivision rules. We're in an unzoned area, we're pretty much limited in that case, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Matthew, I realized that one of the conditions was a traffic study later on, and I appreciate that Dewberry's put a notice in here regarding what kind of traffic there may be, but is there, I'm not a traffic engineer, is there no way to project, what the numbers are going to look like? Because just by saying, a single, 2-axle trucks, if there's already a dirt pit there, I can assume that most of the traffic now is dump trucks, going to the dirt pit. But if this builds out, there's going to be an increase in traffic through, and to quote the conditions, through a residential community, even though we're told during the work session that it's not a residential community. I have deep, deep concerns with increasing the traffic on a 2-lane road that is dead end. Whatever the intent of the regulation regarding the length of the road was, I have deep concerns with increasing the amount of traffic on what is ostensibly what is a dead end, and at some point maybe one way, depending on who you're meeting, in amongst a bunch of residences.
Yeah, no, those are great points, and we appreciate the fact that y'all are, highlighting those, and I know the citizens appreciate the fact that you all have those concerns. The important thing to remember, it is unzoned. The citizens who have raised concerns about this tomorrow could sell their property to an asphalt plant and change the whole character because it's unzoned. It's the nature of living in an unzoned area. In this particular case, because we're tying the commercial turnout permit to the subdivision with those conditions, we'll have the power to reevaluate traffic with each new development that goes into one of those lots. Because to your point, they could put a pretty large light industrial type use that generates relatively little traffic, but they could also put one on there that generates quite a bit of traffic. And so it's very difficult to do a grade evaluation at this point when we don't know what will go on each of those lots. And so we're setting it up the best we can under the unzoned subdivision regulations to make sure it's not going to have a negative impact.
All right, any other questions? Okay. I'll ask again. Motion. Diane?
I make a motion that we approve the Ship Road Industrial Park subdivision with conditions as identified by the staff. And do I need to include the turnout permit condition individually or not?
No, ma'am, but just clarify that it is Ship Road Commercial Park.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Ship Road Commercial Park.
Okay. All right, Ms. Burnett's made a motion to approve with the conditions. Have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Cybert, second the motion. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? Bill Booyer made the motion. I second the motion. All right. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, we'll have to do a roll call.
Mr. Davis?
I don't think we heard you.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Mullet?
Yes.
Mr. Seibert?
No.
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stratiger?
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett? Mr. Fletcher? Mr. Bolton?
Okay, I have the motion carries.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for not highlighting this during the meeting. There was an addendum published for one more old business item. I apologize I didn't highlight it during the work session. And so that is Fabia's case, and she's going to actually come and present that at this time. It was an addendum to the agenda packet.
Yeah, this is case number PER 2328, extension request for S21090 Dogwood Express.
That's correct.
Okay?
All right, Commissioners, this is case PER 2328, Dogwood Express, S21090. The applicant is requesting a one-year extension to allow submission of final plat approval. This property is located on Planning District 18, east of Baldwin County Beach Express and County Road, and north of County Road 36 in the Summerdale area. Zoning has not been adopted. There has not been any changes as far as ownership, still the same owner. Here's a brief explanation from the applicant of why they needed the permit extension to allow submission of final plat approval. Here's a copy of the proposed plat, the approved preliminary plat. As you can see here, the development separates Dogwood Express from Dogwood Estates. Here's your aerial, and staff is recommending approval. They would have the option to ask for another one-year extension if they needed to, but I do believe the applicant has intentions of submitting for final plat approval within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the extension.
That was Greg this time. All right, Mr. Cybers made a motion that it be approved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Michael Mullick has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I think most of the other items on our agenda are all public hearings, so I'm just going to ask for you to, all of you know what the cases are. I'm just going to ask this one time. Does anybody need to disclose any prior communication on any item on our agenda that follows? Okay. All right, then I'm going to open the public hearing now for case number HCA 23-4. This is the Miranda Homes.
There it goes. Good afternoon. All right, so this is a highway construction setback appeal for Miranda Homes. As you can see, the site is located along State Highway 181. It's zoned RSF2, and State Highway 181 is a minor arterial. According to, I forget what this is called. Minor arterials require a 100-foot setback from the center line of the right-of-way per our regulations. Here's just an overview of the minor arterial and where the site is. So this lot is in Gaineswood subdivision, which was recorded in February of 1994. On the recorded plat, it shows that there's a 10-foot setback on the east side of the property that's adjacent to the road, which would only be 50 feet from the center line of the right-of-way. But they are required to have 100. This is the proposed site plan that the applicant provided, showing exactly how much they're encroaching into the setback, which is only 9.18 feet. I would like to note that they did move it as far possible to the left side of the property before they would have to get a variance from any kind of side setback required by the zoning ordinance. And then here's an image of the properties in Gaineswood that are located along the State Highway 181. As you can see, most of them have a little bit more area to move further up, and with this one, they really just don't have anywhere else to go. So we contacted ALDOT regarding their opinion about this property, and they did not recommend approval or denial. They are still planning to widen this part of 181, and as of right now, their plans are to move it east, which would mean this would be out of the setback at that point. So staff recommends that HCA 2304 be approved.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Okay.
So, can you repeat what you just said, that they're looking at, the highway department's looking at using the east side?
It's just preliminary plans. It's ALDOT that's doing it. 'Cause
Oh, it's ALDOT,
It's
that's
State
right.
Highway 181. It's just preliminary, so they don't know for a fact that it's going to happen. But if it did, it would likely move the center line farther from the house than it currently is.
Thank you.
I have a question. Am I looking at this correctly when the right-of-way looks like over half of the area of the lot to start with?
Yes, sir. I did the math, and I think it takes up 60 feet of the property. So there's only 40 feet that's not taken up by the highway construction setback.
I mean, this is probably just a lot that should not have been, period.
Well, is this not a case, though, this subdivision was approved and recorded almost the same year that the act was approved? Maybe even recorded before the act was approved?
That's correct. The act was approved in 94, the same year this subdivision was platted.
So they may not even known the act was in, I don't know if they did or didn't, but I'm just saying its timing is such that it got tied up with that, I'm sure. And this is as I see it, it seems to be the only lot in that development that seems to fall in this category. In other words, we're not going to see a bunch of these come back in like we saw over on County Road 55 just the last couple of months or so.
Yes, sir. This looks like the only lot that was not built on.
Okay.
But the actual setback off the center line is 9 feet
Yes, sir.
plus, right?
90.82 feet.
All right, any other questions? I don't think I have anybody, did we have anybody signed up? It's not showing up on, all right, no one signed up. Is there anybody, the owner or his representative here, do you want to say anything? Unless we have a question? Does anybody have a question? Are you the owner? Okay. Does anybody have any questions for them? Okay. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Move we approve the variance.
All right. Mr. Boyer's made a motion that we approve. All right. Mr. Bolton second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to open the public hearing now for case number Z23-29, Wolf Property. Ms. Boykin?
All right. This is a request to rezone 8.8 acres. The subject property is located in Planning District 12. It is just south of I-10 and east of the Baldwin Beach Express. It consists of 8.8 acres, is currently zoned RSFE, Residential Single Family Estate, and the applicant is asking that it be rezoned to B4 Major Commercial. The applicant would like to put an RV park on the rear of the property and allow the frontage to be utilized for better and higher use in the future. Here's the factory summary. You can see these are the 11 factors we consider when someone requests a rezoning. We felt like they met 4 of them and that 6 of them were not met. Here you can see the subject property highlighted. There's 2 parcels. It's surrounded by RSFE, and there is residential on these areas that are zoned RSFE. A little further to the south near Oakdale Drive, there is B3 zoning. That is where the Dollar General is located, and just south of that is a car lot. To the west of the Baldwin Beach Express, there is quite a bit of B4 zoning that is undeveloped. Staff feels that this is not the right time to rezone this area to B4 with the current, all the other B4s in the area. Staff has recommended denial of this request.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. All right, do I have someone with the, let's see. Karen Vaughn, are you the applicant? Okay. Do you want to, are you speaking for him?
I'm speaking with him. I signed up.
Okay, well, come on. To this podium right here. You can. Give us your name, if you will.
I'm Charles Wolf.
Okay.
When I first looked at this property, I came to the county and I did a full check with all the planners about this being made into B4. Every single person there said yes, it was reasonable, that all the property across the street was going to be B4, and that they had planned on this being B4, and I would have no problems making this into B4.
And I was at that meeting.
And she was at the meeting. And Ms. Karen, it was the owner of the property. One of the things that so we had that meeting, and then because of other things, I didn't go right away with rezoning. I didn't realize I had to right away. So then they had me another plan meeting, and it went the other way. they said, now, wait a minute, you shouldn't have bought this property, you should have done this, you shouldn't have invested all this money until you knew it was going to be before. Well, I was told by the members in my very first planning meeting, there was no problem to be before. And that was in Foley. Now, one of the other statements that that was in the second meeting, they said, was it's own residential now, and then that everybody else will throw up their hands because it's residential. And that's totally false, because prior to me buying the property, Mrs. Vaughn spent thousands of dollars and many months of work going to every homeowner and getting a sign-off on that they would be okay for them to make it commercial. So nobody along that area wants it to stay residential, which is one of the big things they said. The other thing is, when I came over to Alabama, I put my trust in the people I met, and I put a lot of money in this property. And now the second commission, which I only had, there were 3 people at that meeting, I only had one that really disagreed with it. And he seemed to be very adamant that I couldn't build on this, that I should have done more due diligence. I think I did a full due diligence before I bought. And we have signed, and you can look at all the signatures from everybody connected, and I think we got 20 different homeowners, every single person that's even close to that, all the way along between the dollar store and Buc-ee's and behind, is signed an agreement that they would be okay for them to have commercial, and they plan on having commercial in the future. Now, one of the things I think everybody here knows, this is going to be commercial someday. I mean, I can't imagine the people over there with these lots here that are getting 50,000 cars a day by their front doors is going to want to not go commercial also. And I think you can visualize, we're 1/4 mile off the interstate. We got Buc-ee's to the 1/4 mile. We got the dollar store at the other store. We got B4 across the street. And to deny me the B4 after I bought this property and already met with the county would be a travesty of justice. I think you'd see that. And if you want to, we can show you the paperwork from where we've got all these signatures, and Ms. Vaughn spent a great deal of money getting all the people to sign an agreement.
All right, Ms. Vaughn, you want to speak?
I would like to.
Okay.
Okay, so I worked on this project for 6 years, and it cost me $16,000 in attorney fees. Wanted to make sure that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's and made sure that we did everything that we had to do. I want to help Mr. Wolf make this zone for B4. What we had to do is I had 2 meetings with all of my neighbors, 2 meetings. All but 3 people showed up on the first meeting out of 20 families. The second time, the other 3 members were there. I had my attorney speak, and he was very clear that said everybody has to agree on this. This right here in red, that's Mr. Wolf's property here. All of these surrounding areas, all of these people that are adjoint, side by side, or on the corner, about 150 acres. I have a termination and release of deed restrictions. They were recorded in the courts, so not one person that lives around this area, around Mr. Wolf, the adjoining around 150 acres, all the way around, everyone signed a release form. So what that did was, if someone wanted to go and file, it lifted restrictions out of 15 families, out of 20 families, they had deed restrictions. Mine was I could not sell it for commercial property. Okay. what I had to do was I purchased my property from Han Enterprise, and I had an agreement with them in the very end when we closed. I had to pay them 30% of my sale, okay? But what this does, and it was filed with the filed at the courthouse in 2018, all of the people that live around Mr. Wolf's property down Oakdale, all the way around him, regardless if they have deed restrictions or not, by everybody signing this, we're not going to buck each other on this going commercial. If Nancy Witherington signed it and then came back and said, oh no, I've changed my mind, we've got this recorded in the courts. Everybody around us has agreed that it's okay. It's okay for him to move on. And if they want to do the same thing, everybody on these 20 families will support each other. If they don't want to sell it, they don't have to. You know, that's strictly up to them. But you know what? It would be nice to have something down the Beach Express other than Buc-ee's. It'd be nice to have something other than a Mexican restaurant. It'd be nice to have a family restaurant, a church, a bowling alley, or an RV park to bring in revenue. You know, it's just such a great location, and it's just great.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Could I say one more thing?
Yeah, as the applicant, I'll let you, real quick.
When we first looked at this property, my son's a doctor, and we were looking at property for a medical office, and that's why we found this, and that's why I said an RV park on the very back of, there's one lot's a quarter mile deep, the other 600 feet. So the little RV park would be in the back of the long one, way off the highway. And we plan on keeping the front, possibly for a medical office. My son's a neurosurgeon with partners, and he owns Live Oak Neurosurgery in Pensacola, and he's also licensed in Alabama. Okay. So that was our major reason, and still is a plan. The RV park was something later, and we wanted to put it back so it wasn't a visual thing out on the highway, that you wouldn't see it if you had higher use of the business usage of the property.
And Mr. Wolf would have never bought my property had the people in Foley told him that they felt.
Yeah, I think I've got that
Yeah.
part. All right. I had no one else signed up. Thank you very much. All right.
Selena, can you reiterate how did y'all come up with a recommendation of denial given the number of rezonings from RA to B3, B4 over the last 7 or 8 years? Because that is typically something that would trigger, a rezoning would be okay, given the history of property being rezoned in an area. Is it I'm struggling with that.
Okay, there's been very little development on these properties that were rezoned.
Right.
You see all the B4 on the west side. I think only the northern parcel has a Buc-ee's employee parking lot. Also let me go to the zoning history map. You have one parcel, the southernmost parcel that's shaped like a piece of pie, that's B4.
Right.
The parcel to the east of it, they rezoned from RSFE to B4 in 2014, and then came back and asked that it be rezoned to residential because there's a home on there. Also, this falls within the, let me go back. This is the future land use map. It also comes close to a commercial industrial center. And staff felt that this proposed commercial development is not the type of development that is intended for this commercial industrial node. As an RV, we're not sure what he wants to do to the front at the RV park.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
And Mr. Chairman, I do want to clarify So the whole purpose of a public hearing is for you to be able to hear from the applicant. What I suspect took place in this situation is that around 2 years ago, the owner and probably this gentleman met with the planning and zoning team and showed us a copy of that petition possibly. When the owner met with us a month or so ago, we didn't have that petition or anything like that. Now we're suddenly 2 years later, we see scores and scores of property. And so the fact that they bring, and our thought is we say, wow, this is a residential community. We're not sure what this is going to look like. We don't know that this is going to be compatible with that residential community. And then Selena's points regarding the fact that other properties that have been rezoned have had no commercial use on them, which tells us there's not the development pressure there for B4 right now. So the purpose of the public hearing is to glean some of this additional information, which I think was very informative, and helping understand that perhaps this community, especially since there's no opposition here, is very interested in this becoming B4. I think one thing that has to be very clear on the record is that many of these lots, let me just say this, these lots may not be granted access to the Beach Express for commercial uses. They have to go through a full separate process because there's a very stringent access management plan for the Beach Express. So if y'all were to recommend a rezoning, I just don't want there to be a misunderstanding. I also don't want the reason this came actually in front of us again is because there was a sign posted for an RV park on the property, and there was a complaint put in. And so when we went out there, we found infrastructure being put in for our RV park without them having gone through the proper application process. So even if y'all recommend zoning here tonight, this will still have to go to the county commission, so you're not approving anything here tonight. And then there has to be a separate application for an RV park. I'm putting this in the record so there's no confusion by this applicant. And there has to be approval under the Highway Access Management Plan. I don't want them to think that if y'all vote a recommendation tonight that they're approved to go do everything that they've said on the record out there just on that basis.
Okay.
Have they looked at something lower than B4?
They have not suggested that to us. If they wanted to do a doctor's office or something, that could have a lower zoning, like a B2, B1 or B2.
Because that's what we were hearing, is that it was initially a doctor's office, and that falls under B2.
Yes, ma'am.
And then recently, the RV thing came up, but I don't think that was part of any of the meetings.
He may have brought up the RV park. You can do an RV park in RA with a commission site plan approval.
Oh.
I don't know if there was, what was your question again? I think there may have been a misunderstanding and what?
An RV park.
If it's B2, I'm sorry, if they wanted to do a doctor's office, that's allowed under B2, but they're asking for B4 because the RV park has recently come up. That wasn't the original intent.
So I'm not sure what their intent was 2 years ago. When they came to us about a month ago, the RV park was their focus because that's what they had a sign out for. And then that's actually when they told us, and we might want to do a doctor's office as well at some point here. But they were working on an RV park, which they would need a B4. The other option would be maybe an RA with a conditional use, but you might recall that y'all denied one of those just about 2 months ago in RA. So B4 or an RV designation would be really their only option.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Not yet. Did you have a question? Oh, you read? Okay, hang on a second then. All right, anything else?
I have a question before moving forward with this, around all this RSFE. Is this something that they say they have these signatures? Do we spend some time looking at what they have and making sure that this is what they say it is?
Because y'all are just making a recommendation tonight, I think the signatures are pretty compelling. And what we can do is we can collect that documentation from them, and y'all can just note that if you were to recommend it, that it's based on the factualness of what they've stated, and then staff can review that and vet that further as it goes to the county commission.
If I recall right, some of the previous rezonings in this area, these parcels are a part of an existing subdivision, and in their deed, the commercial was not allowed in the subdivision, so that's why they got all these signatures and had new deeds drawn up.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have, I'm sorry, just to be clear, there are several parcels out there already zoned B4 with no activity.
Correct.
Then we have an applicant who is ready to do construction for a B4. Is that right? The applicant.
They're requesting B4, I'm not sure if
Right,
they know.
and there's already activity happening for the B4 project. It hasn't been reviewed or, but it's not speculative is where I'm going. For these other zoning requests were speculative. There wasn't a project on the books, whereas this one appears to have a project.
Well, as the applicant stated, they wanted to do RV park in the rear, and then on the front, they weren't sure.
Okay.
Just for a higher,
That's
better use.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Bolton, I can tell you're ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accepted, change to B4 for the Wolf property.
So you're making a motion to recommend to the county commission for approval?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All right, Mr. Bolton's made a motion that we recommend to the county commission that this be approved.
Second.
Bill Booyer, second the motion. Any questions on the motion?
And we approve it with verifications of the signatures?
I think that whether you approve it that way, I think that's what's going to happen. I think staff will get those documents.
Motion, if you want it to be, I don't know.
We're good. You're all good.
I would say since it's a recommendation to the county commission, I don't see the need to make it contingent upon that, but it can be noted in the record so that when it is presented to the county commission, Matthew can state whether it's been verified or not.
And being that you're here, I would just say to you, you might want to pass that along just so they can have that and they can do that. All right, we had a motion and a second to approve, make a recommendation to the county commission to approve. No other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Is everybody ready to continue on? One more? Let's do this next item. We'll take a break after it. This may be a little longer one. All right, we're going to open the public hearing now for case number Z23-37. I hope I pronounced this, Noguera property.
That's correct.
Ms. Rhodes?
All right, this is a rezone request. This is Z2337, the Noguera property. The request is to rezone 6.1 acres from RSFE to RA. The property is located in Planning District 22 and zoned Residential Single Family Estate District. The property is located north of Barclay Avenue and west of 7th Street in the Lillian area, and the current use is residential. The applicant and owner is Maria Noguera. The proposed zoning is RA, Rural Agricultural District, and the request is to rezone for a small farmer's market. Here are the factors that we look at in a rezone request. As you can see, some factors have been checked, so approved, and then some are don't meet our requirements, and some are questioned. Here's the locator map and the site map. The adjacent zoning to the north and west is RSFE, and to the south and east, we have Residential Single Family District 1. The adjacent land uses to the north, south, and east are all residential, and to the west, we have institutional use. Here's kind of a close-up of the locator map and the subject property. I've also added in here the site map zoomed in so you can see the entire property. I've also noted the roads, Key Avenue, and a portion of 7th Street. Here's some property images. Here's the subject property looking at Barclay. And then this is the subject property looking southwest on 7th Street and Key Avenue. Property to the south, property to the west and east, and then the property to the north. Here are the current zoning requirements for RSFE, and then the proposed zoning requirements for RA. And as you can see highlighted, a farmer's market is a permitted use in RA zoning. This is also in our table of permitted uses in the zoning ordinance. I've highlighted here that particular use, and then you can see all the zoning districts that allow this use, either permitted or conditional with commission site plan approval. Because there's some opposition to this case, I'm going to go through some of these factors. So in terms of the requested change being compatible with the existing development pattern and the zoning of nearby properties. So the subject property is zoned RSFE. The surrounding parcels are zoned either RSFE or RSF1, so residential, with the adjacent uses being residential or institutional. And staff feels the requested change may not be compatible with the development pattern in the surrounding areas. In terms of rezoning, as you can see from the historical images, there hasn't been much rezoning in this area. I believe only 2 parcels have been rezoned in this area since zoning was adopted in 2002. Here's our future land use map, and I have the subject parcel there. It's kind of under a node, but the future land use for the property includes both rural development potential as well as moderate development potential. So this particular factor does conform to the master plan, and I have highlighted that here on the subject property. And then there's the descriptions for each of the potential areas. I'm going to skip down to number 5 in terms of the proposed change adversely affecting traffic patterns or congestion. So staff is concerned that this change may have an effect on the traffic patterns, possibly increasing congestion along Key Avenue and then 7th Street, and there's not any available parking. Right, I'm going to skip over that. All of that is in your staff report. We received no other agency comments, and here are the factors once more. So while a farmer's market is an allowable use within this requested zoning classification, staff is going to defer to the Planning Commission for the recommendation to county. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Corey, real quick, if this were to be rezoned, applicant's going to have to come back to us for commission site plan when it comes to the farmer's market.
Yes.
So parking will be addressed at that point.
Yes, parking, landscaping, all those requirements. Yes,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I have several people signed up then, and let me go down. We'll start with is there someone with the applicant? I can't tell on here who the applicant is. Would you like to go ahead and come up and speak? And give us your name.
My name is Maria Nogueira. I bought this property 10 years ago. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you might want to pull it down to a little bit closer.
Oh,
There
I'm
you
sorry.
go.
Okay. Is that better?
We'll see.
Oh, step a little closer. Okay, sure. Try that. Sorry. Okay. My name is Maria Nogueira.
That's good.
My parents are here at this moment. My father, Sebastian, and my mother, Maria. They are here with me to have the third time. I'm trying to make this residential. I did bought this property to become something in Lilia. The first time I did the RV park. The second time I came back here for the bread and breakfast. And today I'm here to become a farm. Well, the last 3 years, I did develop after I have the Hurricane Sally, with so much debris and damages for the trees I have there in my property. I decided with the pandemic, I bring my parents from my country, Brazil, and I did develop there a plan for us to plant blueberries. I did have today 2,000 blueberries there with drip irrigation. That was the project. This year, in January, I came. I would like to say thank you so much for Corey, because she did follow me. I say, I'm going to have my first harvest of the blueberries. Can, by any chance, you can give me any suggestions for I can sell these blueberries as a U-pick, follow the extension from here in Alabama. She said to me I was going to be able to have a store with 20% of my property, my residential property. At the time, I didn't have the experiment. I was extremely overwhelming for the experiment I have in my property. I have families came, bring their kids there for have the blueberries. Also, I did have the honey. I did sell. I sell the eggs. I did sell all the vegetables I can have in my yards. People was flow there for different reasons to kind of to see this property. I met a lot of neighbors at the time. That was a very good reward for me. Also, I did have a reward to see people coming and be like, see where is organic food I can't eat, not only myself and my family, but also for my community. I spoke with Corey in September because one of the suggestions follow my experiment, it's rezoning my property. Okay, she did said to me, I have at the time 11 factors. Today I like to see, we go over the factors. I have 3 question marks. I'm going to put my focus on the 3 question marks of this because the other ones has been checked, always okay for me. The three question marks, if you are able to open 7th Street. During Sally, I have presented myself the awful conditional because I was not able to get out from my property on the front of Barclay. I did have a tree fall in the back, and that will help me to go out of my property on Knee Avenue and reach the neighbor because at the time I have 2 wells in my property, I don't have water, and I need to have something I can keep my family there. No electricity, no water. My company came back, did help me during the hurricane with the water, with the generator, and supplies for me to keep it up for the 10 days I was established back. After this, I quit the job. My parents was here for the pandemic. I did have done the farm, and I see here. In this, we're going to assess it in this project after I did the U-pick. The concern here in these 3 items is about the traffic. Well, I just wanted to tell about number 1, number 5, and number 10. All comes to the traffic. That is the main question I did discussing with Corey other day. First of all, I am next Tuesday on the 7th, I'm going to have a license agreement because me and the county, as I divide with the county, going to open and clear. They're going to kind of come back and clear for people can come and access more often, more clear to my property. Second, I follow what the extension told me to do. Was about 20 spaces providing for the community coming and have next to my store. I did not see people did block any roads, the back roads. They did not parking on the customers, did not parking next to my neighbors. Only on the north side, I do have a customer. She did left the gate open. And actually, the gate was open towards to the county. No trespass sign was over there, was provided, or private sign was there. I did observe in my experiment overflow cars coming there. On the 4th of July, is because I did sell a watermelon, was about 18 cars. I did provide 30 parking lots in my property, inside my property. If I follow the Tennessee guidelines, I didn't need to have 1 acre for 240 spaces, 10 by 18, by 6 rows with 24 foot. That way allowed me to have 150 cars in 1 acre. By the county, on my taxes, I am able to have live in 1 acre, and then I can use 5.1 acres for, I can use it for agriculture or also pasture. Well, if I use 3 acres for my blueberries, I have, you guys seen the map, I have 2 acres. I can provide 1 acre for parking lots. I have 1 acre I can provide for other things I would like to do as a farm there. Addressing about the farmers market, I think I have a little misconception with the neighbor. She said, I'm going to open a free market there. It's a farmer's market. I'm going to sell my own product. I did sold there. And unfortunately, she did not came to the store. I can't respond for her. But I do have people today here is going to speak in my behalf, and they will tell about you guys the experience in my place. I just want to say, it is a farmer's market. I'm selling my own product there, but I don't want to sell the season product, it's the blueberry. I still have honey, I still have eggs there, I still have my vegetables. If I change it for the farmer's market, a farm there in my house, I'll be able to provide. Like I did have one customer is going to say, I can have a nursery, a small nursery, I can put on the pots. I see on my experiment, the person did not want to have the flower. I have you pick a flower at the time for sunflowers and zinnias. She did not want to buy the bouquet of a flower. She wants to have the plant. I did not have the plant for blueberries and then also for the plants for the zinnia or the sunflower. I like to sell this year around. I think the community will be good for that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, I have several signed up in support of this. Gail Beach. And there will be 3 minutes on all of these from here on, so just know that. Okay, go ahead.
All right, my name is Gail Beach. Most of you have heard the saying, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. That describes my friend Maria. First and foremost, Maria is a United States citizen. She is originally from Brazil. Her first language is Portuguese. She has been a United States citizen since 2004. Being one of the proudest moments in her life, Maria obtained a BSN in Brazil, and then she came to the States and worked in the healthcare field as a tech, that is a nursing assistant. And then 6 years later, she challenged the United States Board of Nursing and passed it the first time. What an accomplishment. Okay, her father, Sebastian, is a retired attorney. Her mother, Maria, is a retired teacher and a professional artist. Papa is 89, Mama is 84. The three of them work the 6.1 acre farm 6 days a week. They have planted 2,000 blueberry bushes, 7 different varieties. They have chickens, fresh eggs, 3 extraordinary beehives, fresh honey, and several varieties of flowers. The farm is beautiful. Maria has contacted Auburn University, and they said they would certify her farm as an organic farm once it is rezoned from residential to agricultural, and that is why we're here today to ask for that change. Some of the oppositions that I've heard, parking. Will the panel please give me a show of hands if you've been to the farm? Okay. All right, Maria has enough room to park 150 cars on her property with an overflow area if needed. No driveways will be blocked in Lillian, Alabama, I promise you. Traffic. We can do another traffic study. The citizens of Lillian have asked several times to have a four-way stop sign at the bakery. We didn't mention the bakery up here, which is just a half a block down the road, and that would be at the bar. And we've asked several times to have a four-way stop sign there. 99 North and Barclay, to no avail. The entrance. A compromise must be made. Not everyone has a helicopter. Either Barclay, we're going to have to enter Barclay, or either we're going to have to enter on Key Street, or either we're going to simply open up 7th Street. 3 ways to get there. We're going to have to make a decision. Then we have someone complaining that Maria's shed is blocking their view, and they don't want to look at the farm. Maria has owned her property for 2013. She's had that shed up for 3 years. The person complaining has lived there less than 1 year.
Yes.
The general public does not understand. Maria has been approached by several developers that want to put mobile homes in there.
We got it.
Mobile homes.
We got you.
Mobile homes.
All right.
I don't want to look at mobile homes.
Candy Reed? Please, when it buzzer goes off, I know it's hard, but you're just going to have to cut it off. So,
Okay, I'm Candy Reed. I live at 328 Buena Vista Drive in Spanish Cove. I hail from Denver, retired realtor, and I decided to choose Lillian because it's farm country, and I'm seeking clean eating, and I didn't realize I was moving into a food desert. It is a food desert. There's nowhere to get food except maybe Casabams, and they are very limited in their selection and very limited in their days that they're open per year. So I happened upon Maria's farm, and the second I happened on it, I knew, oh my God, I'm looking at organic. Unfortunately, you're all working blind. You should see this beautiful place. I can't believe we don't have posters. 7 different varieties lined up. Immediately you know it's organic. And you can get fresh eggs and so much more she's proposing, which is vegetables. And it's so hard. You have to go to Foley or even further than Foley to find anything organic. So we're looking at a needle in a haystack farm. As far as traffic, coming up 7th, you have a whole shopette, you have the bakery. She's a block up and just a little bit over. And the entrance is ideal because you're not obstructing anybody or even going by homes. It's all covered with greenery. So I see on the map that there's 2 homes. Well, I missed them, and I've been there numerous times. It's a shame because it's so hard to do organic because the hoops you have to jump through are tough, and the layers she's jumping through for all of this. So that these 3 small people did what they did with these gorgeous 7 varieties and other things that you can buy, especially the honey, is amazing. So I think it'd be a shame if naysayer neighbors that own residential homes that won't really affect them are saying no, because I think it is a low impact. As a retired realtor, you subdivide this for building homes, that impacts traffic a lot more for all the surrounding neighbors, everything going up 7th, if you build a whole bunch of homes on 6 acres. So if you look at it that way, at any rate, thank you for your time.
thank you. Judge Leland Avery?
Thank y'all for having us here today. We applaud y'all for y'all's service to the community. We really love Lillian, Alabama, and we would just like to see this turned over to a farm, so we could just have the farmers market there and just support them 100% in what they're trying to do. Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Dean Wood?
Good afternoon. I do appreciate your time. I know it's a donation here. I sent an email to you guys a little bit earlier, but I don't know if you've had a chance to read it or not, so it's pretty succinct and to the point. So I'll go ahead and read that if it's okay with you guys. Said, "Good afternoon, my name is Dr. Dean Wood, and I teach social psychology for Columbia Southern University. The only reason I mention that is I teach this course because I understand that people are always not comfortable with change. Let us address that. I am writing this email in support of Maria Nojeri's appeal for rezoning from residential to agricultural because I live directly across the street from Maria's property in a nice brick home, and I realize and I really believe that this endeavor is good for the community. I know families from our gym that went there 6 different times to pick blueberries. It's a good environment. So anyway, I'll get back to her just reading. They went over there 6 different times during the month just during the month that she was selling her blueberries. And I believe this is actually a positive impact for health, safety, and wellness of the community. People and their children are outside having fun, picking blueberries, or enjoying the acre of sunflowers, along with the butterflies that the zinnia plants bring. She has bees out there as well. It's good for the environment. Families really do enjoy this adventure. Now, I do understand that the real concern in this minor increase is the minor increase of traffic in our area. Virtually all of the neighbors are in favor of rezoning to agricultural and have signed the petition in favor of rezoning. I would also like to mention that we like to shop locally, and Maria is going to sell the produce that she will sell on her 6-acre farm. She has no intention of selling anyone else's product. She just wants to make a living and help the neighborhood. There will be no flea market. Maria understands the neighbors' concerns of the parking and has agreed to put the parking on the west side of the parking and not on the east because it was complained about. Wendy and Clyde Donovan, who are the neighbors directly behind Maria, took the time and came to visit with me this morning to express their concerns. One of the concerns is that Maria's gate is too close to the entrance to the Donovan's home, so she is working with the highway department and should be getting the license agreement, as was mentioned earlier, so that the gate can be moved further from the residential entrance and not be such a conflict as to which one I'm supposed to go in. Have big signs saying, hey, this is the farmer's market right here, private entrance, please do not enter. Now, Maria is more than willing to work to help ease the Donovan's concerns. We are striving to have a win-win situation here where no one feels like they lost. I have been her neighbor for over 10 years. First generation immigrant. She's a good person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Douglas Stewart, following are those that are in opposition, so.
Thank you all for listening. I'm Doug Stewart, and I own a piece of property just adjacent to Maria's on 7th Street. Maria's a good gal, I guess. I don't know her real well. I know she's strong-headed, and we've butted heads a couple times. And I don't know about the blueberry farm or whatever. My biggest concern is traffic. And then somebody that was for it said something about opening up 7th Street to be able to get there by 7th. Let me tell you about 7th Street. It's a little bitty dirt road that the county never has maintained, and I've done it. And I've kind of slacked off, and then I got a nice big rut in the front. Deters people from coming down there because it doesn't go all the way through the key. It just goes down to where there are 3 houses there now on that road, and mine, a trailer being one of them. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the increase. If she's got room for 150 cars on her property, I don't know what that would hurt, as long as it's on that property and not parked out in the road and stuff. And I don't see, and she can egress, ingress right off of Barclay on a paved road. Please don't come down a dirt road and expect 150 cars to go in and out of that one without tearing it up worse than it is. At one time, she wanted that 7th Street that is north of Barclay to be opened all the way through. Well, the county commission, they didn't want to do it because they don't want to upkeep it. Now, if they want to go in there and put in a fine paved road so that if they're going to allow that to be pulled in on that side, and I was unclear about what this meeting was about because I got another one handed to me. I got to go to Bay Minette next week about clearing the right-of-way or something on 7th Street. So I'm just asking, y'all know, Lillian is it's not really a a farming area. It's gotten to be more retirement. And I've been here all my life, and I live in Alberta. Got farmland there, and a piece of property there in Lillian, and it's just, there's a lot of traffic runs through there anyway. So when you're talking about 150 cars, if that's her expectation, I'm going, that's a lot of cars either coming in the dirt road on 7th Street or Barkley or Key. I don't know where the entrance and exit's going to be, but that's a lot of traffic in my mind. And I guess y'all know best, so you're going to make up your mind. But I'm in opposing of it. Now, I'm not against her. Nice lady, I guess. And I've never dealt with her except when she started cutting trees down that she wasn't supposed to. She just got a little ahead of herself. And then that's when the county commission said, no, we're not going to, go through and open up that road. So my hope is y'all just figure out what's the best for the areas, and y'all are not stupid people or you wouldn't be sitting there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Wendy Donovan.
Mr. Chairman, as this citizen walks up here, I do want to remind the audience that we are not approving a farmer's market today. That is not before this board. We're not considering a farmer's market. We're not considering the traffic from a farmer's market. What we're considering today is a request to rezone the property from RSFE to RA. And if a farmer's market is sought down the road, they will have to apply for it, and there will be a public hearing to address concerns regarding traffic, parking, and things like that. And this commission will have discretion on the appropriateness of it, and there'll be an opportunity to give input. I just want to make sure we're not over discussing an item that's not before the board tonight.
And just know this is a recommendation to the county commission just to rezone. County commission will meet. They'll make a decision whether to rezone it. And then if they do move further with their farmers market, as Matthew said, they will have to come back with a detailed plan that will probably address a lot of the things I've been hearing some of you folks talk about, even those that are in favor of it, mentioning. But so.
Well, I've already got my speech written, so I'm just going to go through. Good evening. My name is Wendy Donovan. My husband and I live at 13145 7th Street. We are located at the dead end of Key Avenue. We are opposed to the rezoning of Maria Noguera's property. In 1968, my parents purchased this property, and in 1978, my childhood home was built. My father passed away on August 31st, 2022. This is now my husband's and my home, and will one day be passed on to our children. We feel our property value could drop having a farmer's market next door. We enjoy our peace and quiet in the privacy of our home. Maria already uses the Key Avenue entrance for events in her blueberry farm. On 8 different occasions, 8 different cars drove down our long driveway, and on one occasion went halfway off the pavement. I tried to talk to Maria about this, and I was told to shut my gate. Maria's Key Avenue entrance is dangerous to my family and to the families living on 7th Street. Maria cannot control the public's driving practices, nor the speed that they will be traveling when merging onto Key Avenue. This needs to be addressed whether the zoning goes through or not. Maria expressed to me 3 weeks ago that she would be selling other farmers' produce. This could turn into quite a big farmers' market. Parking will be an issue. She will have to have a dumpster for her waste and what comes with that. The smells, flies, and animals. She will be allowed to have porta potties for her customers if the health department approves that. There will be an increase in noise. Maria has the option to purchase or lease a property suitable for a farmer's market. It does not belong in a residential neighborhood. There is no doubt Maria and her family should be highly admired for their hard work. But I don't want myself or the people that live in Lillian and our little community, I never want them to forget the families that have gone before us and the families that still live in our neighborhood today. They also are to be admired for their dedication and their hard work to keep our neighborhood the quiet, beautiful place that we live in today. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Ross?
I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me. I live on 13078 7th Street, which is under that timer. And it's a new house. I've retired this year and came down, built a house. It's been under construction and just completed. Moved in June. Really enjoy the neighborhood, nice and quiet. But when this came up, I was obviously concerned that the quiet in the neighborhood was going to end. There's a petition in the documentation that there are several here that are approving that may not be as close to the property as I am. There's a petition in the documentation that at last count that I noticed there was 20 property owners in the immediate surrounding area of the farm that are opposed to this due to access issues. And I know you're not addressing that today, but I don't see how the board can ignore access issues to the farm in the approval in whether to approve or to deny this request, because that's the major issue for me. Is 7th Street is a dirt road, as Mr. Stewart has said. It's a one-lane dirt road. There's a nice mud hole at the entrance when it rains. Maria has talked to the county about clearing out a 6-foot path down her fence. Guess what? My elevation is here. The farm elevation is here. It slopes all the way to the bay. It's maybe 1,000 feet from 7th Street to the bay. When we get these nice rains or when we get these nice hurricanes, the less vegetation there is going to cause potential erosion all the way across 7th Street down to my house. So that's a problem. 7th Street needs to be either remain dirt as it is, or if the county wants to spend $1 million and pave it and put in drainage, so be it. It's road right of way. I understand that. It's public right of way. I understand that. Barclay is a nice paved street. It has great sight lines from her property, looking right, looking left. Plenty of access on Barclay if this gets approved. I'm opposed to it no matter where the entrance is. Barclay, 7th, or Key. Key is probably the worst entrance at the moment. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cindy Ross?
My name is Cindy Ross. I live adjacent to Maria on 7th Street. My address is 13078. My husband and I recently moved to Lillian and built a retirement house, okay, so that we could enjoy the bay and the beach and the quiet neighborhood. I am opposed to the spot zoning of the 6 acres because of the negative impact it will have on me personally, my neighbors, and property value. Changing the original zoning of residential single-family estate to rural agricultural opens the doors for business development. As per Baldwin County zoning ordinance, rural agricultural zoning permits a farmer's market, but it does not design what a farmer's market is. The zoning ordinance does not define days of operation or hours of operation. The surrounding neighbors will be at the mercy of Maria's business decisions if rezoning is approved. I believe a business will have the following negative impacts on our neighborhood: possible decreased safety because of strangers coming in and out, exposing children to non-residents, increased noise, That's the biggest one, probably. Increased noise will come from commercial trucks developing produce, delivering produce from other vendors, garbage dumpsters being emptied, car doors, 150 car doors opening and closing, possibly, each time a customer comes. Light pollution, if it's opened at night, there'll be light shining into our homes. If people are coming and going, then car lights will be shining into my house. If there is increased traffic, which there probably will be, it's going to inhibit our ability to walk around the neighborhood, ride bicycles, increase trash. People that don't live in your neighborhood throw out trash. That's just a given. I've already experienced that before. So I hope you agree that spot zoning, RA, next to a single-family residence community will not benefit most people. Let me just finish by saying I felt a better solution would be for Maria to sell her produce at a local farmer's market or a flea market or a grocery store, which are plentiful in the area. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Riley Ann Pugh.
My name is Riley Ann Pugh. I'm 16, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Pugh, Metz, and Longhorn families. I live in the log cabin at the end of 7th Street. To be quite honest with you, I think this farmer's market is a terrible idea, and it will completely ruin the atmosphere that was supposed to be somewhat a private road. My grandparents have lived there for almost 40 years, and someone who just moved in a few years ago is coming in and trying to completely change the atmosphere. This is crazy to me, and now she feels like she has the privilege of putting in a business. Our neighbors across the road have ducks that they allow to roam our road without worry of anything happening to them. Me and my sister have learned how to ride our bikes down that dead-end road, as have other kids, and we often take walks together, which will no way be okay with all this new traffic. All of that never will be okay if this farmer market goes through. There will be people from all parts of Alberta and Lillian, and possibly even Pensacola area, who get to come right down our little road, which, as stated before, is a dead end, so how will they turn around and leave? This will cause unwanted traffic to use our driveway to turn around. This will again disturb our peace and privacy. How do you think the families on this road feel about our private area being stripped away from us for a farmer's market? What about the families with small children who are moved out here for the sake of safety and privacy? The crime and accident rate, not just along our road, but in the entire area, will more than likely increase, and nothing is worth that. I've heard that this will be her way of making a living, but has she thought about going up the road and talking to the Castlebaums about working with them at their farm, or even going up the road to the several strip malls and renting one of them out? We appreciate that she wants to make a living for herself, but she will be ruining the atmosphere that the rest of the families have created for themselves. So we ask that you please consider our request and not allow the farmer's market to open in our quiet residential neighborhood. And also, something I've noticed is all the people on her side do not live near our area. They are all from across 98, Pensacola, Alberta, and all of us are right here in Lillian, right around the area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jason Munn.
Hi, yes, my name's Jason Munn. I live at 13068 7th Street, which is directly to the east of the property of Maria's. Lived there for over 10 years. Lived there at the time when Maria bought the property. Before she bought the property, it was used primarily agriculture. If you call horses roaming under 300-year-old live oaks. Once she got there was a removal of the horses, of course, but in that same time through the years, there's been the removal of the 20-some-odd 300-year-old oaks. She said that it occurred with damage after Hurricane Sally, but I had a direct line of view and didn't see damage to any of those trees for the premise that she had them taken down. Thinking it was more of that it was taken down at that time because there was offered free removal from the curbside so that she could remove such a large load. She also took those same remnants of the trees and moved them over to the west side property, creating a berm, also creating that of a water divert. It's been mentioned that the land is on a slope from the west to the south, to the east would be the slope down to the bay. Again, I live directly across 7th Street, which is an unmaintained road. It's never been maintained. Unmaintained means never been maintained by the county. There are requests by Maria previously, as it is right now, for the county to come in and clear a path of 6 feet, 8 feet along her east side fence to give her a first path that she could come back later and keep maintained with her own equipment. But by far, that's not the responsibility of the county. Again, it's unmaintained. Looking at the property again, hearing what the others have said, and even out of Miss Maria's mouth that she used it this past year for a blueberry pick your own. It did increase the traffic on our one-lane dirt path that we call 7th Street that I only lived on for those past 10 years until my neighbor just built his home and has moved in as a part-time resident for the past 4 months. So again, I've seen everything going on through these past several years. If she has the opportunity in the way that it's zoned now to operate as a you-pick blueberry, why should it still be given an upgrade to a residential agriculture if she's already doing something that is giving her a benefit of 20% of her residential? Why go that next leg and give her the advantage that she may not turn it into a farmer's market, but have those zonings that allow for any other type of businesses?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to leave it at that.
All right, that's the last I have signed up to speak. Ms. Rhodes, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, any questions for staff? Now that you've heard public input, does anybody have any?
I have one.
Ms. Strateger?
Thanks.
I have one. RSFE, is the description of what it says right here, and if you list everything on there, what it can be put there is, they can use it for agricultural use, they can put mobile homes on it, if you, according to what it's wrote here. And it says, single-family dwellings, manufactured housing, mobile homes, accessories, structures, and uses, and can be used as church or similar facilities. So if she decides not to do that and wants to put in a trailer park, it's approved. Not approved, it's zoned for that. That was just one of my questions. I saw it here, and somehow or another, none of that got spoke about.
Okay.
I do want to clarify, it's not zoned for a mobile home park, it's zoned for a single mobile home. So the way that works is under state law, we're not allowed to restrict someone living in a mobile home through zoning, but we can regulate a mobile home park. So she could live in a mobile home on that property, but she would have to get it rezoned in order to develop it as a mobile home park. So just want to clarify that. We get that question a lot, so it's a good question. But that's what that means.
Ms. Strateger, did you have a question?
Yes, I know we're not approving or disapproving a farmer's market today, and it seems like a lot of the questions are about 7th Street. Is Barclay an opportunity that if this is rezoned and something can be put there, that's the new access point?
There could be, yes, if that's the main entrance.
There's nothing that says it can't be used.
There's nothing stating that she can't have her entrance at Barclay.
And quite possibly, that's the way you would probably guide her to put the entrance there.
That's right. We would defer to highway, obviously, but I think that, and Ms. Maria just needs to know this, that for this project to have a chance at moving forward, almost certainly the access will have to be on Barkley there. And, but that's not for discussion today. We're not discussing that today, so there's no point in us having that. But she should know moving forward, we're not going to probably let a commercial entrance be off Key Avenue if this does move forward.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. I don't think I've done that yet, so close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve it.
All right, this is a recommendation of the county commission to approve the rezoning request.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bolton's made the motion to recommend approval. That was second.
I'll second.
Mr. Booyer, second the motion. Any questions on the motion?
I have a question.
Okay.
This is just to recommend for the rezoning to the county commission, correct?
All right.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
The uses that are listed in our agenda, are they by right?
Yes, let me go back to that slide real quick.
So I'm just clarifying something. So it's not conditional, or if there's access or any, it's by right?
Well, some are conditional, some are permitted by right. If
Well-
anything triggers it to come back to commission, then whatever project that's going to be will come back over here and be heard from this board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a motion to recommend approval to the county commission and a second. No more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Byers? Mr. Davis?
No.
Tom Smyer's not here. Mr. Paget? Okay. Mr. Mullick?
Yes.
Mr. Seibert?
No.
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stradiger?
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. Steele? Ms. Barnett? No. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, motion is approved. Just keep in mind that this will go to the county commission. It'll be, there'll be a notice on that, and the county commission makes the final decision on the zoning. So if you folks, you have an opportunity, I guess what I'm saying, you folks have an opportunity, pro and con, if you want to go to that meeting, express the same things you expressed here, because they do make the final decision. All right, with that, do we need to take a break? We're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll reconvene on our rest of our items.
Mr. Chairman, your microphone's off.
Sorry. Thank you. Bill Booyer has left, so I made a note of that on the attendance sheet, time he left, so. All right, let's pick back up where we left off. We will now open the public hearing for case number SC 23-42, the BFLC 8 Mile Creek East Phase 6.
Do you need to clear any communication?
I'm sorry.
Clear communication with anybody?
Already have. I did that at the beginning.
All right, excellent. All right, so this is another standard BFLC 5-lot subdivision. It's on Lindholm Road and Goat Cooper Road, approximately 100 acres, so no traffic studies required since these are all fairly large. Here you can see the largest is 100 acres and the smallest is 3.2. No drainage improvements are recommended at this time. Utilities, now this is something that's just come up. We asked them to show utilities and they have not been showing water, but evidently public water is available on Lindholm, so we've asked them to revise the plat to reflect that. Wetlands are buffered as they should be, and so our condition of approval is that the existing utilities will be shown on the plat. They don't have to connect to water because of the lot size, but they do have to at least show that it is there, and that's it.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, I was just looking to see if we had anybody signed up. We do not. All right. All right. I'm going to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval with conditions.
Mr. Mullis made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Danny Bolton, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we'll now open the public hearing for case number SC 23-44. This is Lillian Acres. Ms. Booth.
So the request before you tonight is for a 3-lot residential subdivision located in Planning District 29. Before you is the plat. The smallest lot is 3 acres, the other two are 22 and 36 acres. Due to the large size of the lots, additional runoff is not anticipated. No additional impacts downstream, no new road improvements. Your utility letters. There are wetlands that have not been delineated, but they have shown the 50-foot wetland buffer on the plat and put the applicable note on there that any future development will be to the current subdivision regulations at that time. And staff recommends approval. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right. I have a couple signed up in opposition. First off, is there anybody here that's representing, is the applicant or a representative here? All right, we'll go to the opposition. Gerald Mickelson.
Thank you. I'm talking on behalf of my sister, Carol Richardson, 10549, County Road 91. We've lived on that property since 1950. When Brocco bought it, that Brocco Road was used all the time. It started washing out. They moved their road up the hill. They got 2 trailers that lives on the north side, Brocco. They can't use that road now because it's washed out. We get no garbage, no ambulance, no mail goes down that road because the county won't maintain it because Brocco got a gate up there. We had 2 culverts underneath Brocco Road. They filled one culvert up with dirt on their side. I've got pictures here that I'm going to leave with you if you want them. You can see how it floods, and that's with 5 inches. About 10 years ago, 91, washed out down there. They got 3 huge culverts. And the guy got killed because he run the barricade. The culverts is over halfway full of dirt right now. And when we get 8, 9 inches of rain, it's over 91. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I think someone else.
All right, I had one other signed up, and it's just got FC.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Susan Wells. I own the property that abuts Baracco Road on the north side. My biggest concern is not that they're going to subdivide into the 3 lots. That's fine. And we understand that there's actually a bid on the property of the 35-acre plot now that's a single family, and they plan to keep it a single family. My concern is there any ability for the zoning to allow them to make an actual subdivision out of the 22-acre lot that runs along Baracco Road? And if they do, then I'm going to be standing on my head that the county developed Baracco Road, since it is a deeded right-of-way that we should have access to, and they have butted me time after time on having that road paved, developed, so that I could access my property back there. I have a 2-acre plat and a 5-acre plat that adjoin and go back to a 1-acre life estate that's in the corner there. That is my only concern. I'm all about the Baraccos being able to sell their property, and it was too big a piece for anybody to buy the whole thing. So I'm okay about what y'all are doing, what's being asked for now. My complaint for the books is we just don't want any other development the same as the property on the north side of Highway 91 and 98. There's just no ability for the traffic to travel up 91 and access Highway 98 until we get some better traffic flow there. So I appreciate y'all's time and the approval. I was a little in between about what if to put as I was opposed or not. I'm not technically opposed to what's on the book today. We just want to make sure that we are all aware that 22 acres is not being approved for anything but a 22-acre lot. And if that's the case, then I'm happy.
That's the case tonight. That doesn't mean it'll stay that way. That would be, just so you'll know, that would be another submittal to the county. You would get another notice just like you did on this one, if they did. All right. That's all I had signed up. I'll close the public hearing. Ms. Booth, do you have anything else to add?
Just to reiterate that these lots that are proposed tonight do all front on County Road 91, have access to 91 only, and any future development would have to come back before us, be reheard through a public hearing, and meet current subdivision regulations at that time.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
Do you want to get the photos and put them in with the...
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to, for approval.
All right, Mr. Moult's made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's all the time I get. All right. That motion was approved. All right, we'll open public hearing now for case number SC 23-45 Hopkins subdivision.
Okay, the subject property is located on the north side of 98 near Powell Lane in the Lillian area. 2-lot subdivision. It's residential. It is zoned RA. Before you use the plat. There would not be a significant change in drainage, therefore no additional drainage infrastructure is required. No new roads or impervious improvements slated. The only thing that we are requiring is that the applicant grant additional right-of-way along Powell Lane. No roadway improvements, just additional right-of-way. Highway feels the existing asphalt is adequate. It appears to be that only the lot to the rear would be accessing Powell Lane, and the other lot already access Highway 98.
Okay, is that it?
There are potential wetlands. They have been reflected on the plat as 50 foot as they were not delineated. The note is on the plat that any future development would require compliance with subdivision regulations, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, any questions for staff?
You said, I have a question. You said the one lot will continue to front or access 98 and only the second lot back will.
That's the way it
go on
appears,
the
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Have no one signed up, is that correct? All right. Is the, not to miss, is the applicant here a representative of the applicant? Okay. Does anybody have any questions for them? All right. Well, if no questions.
To clarify, we did have a Reese Harple for the applicant.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept it.
I'm going to close the public hearing, by the way. I'm sorry, it's my fault. And you made a motion to approve?
Approve it, yeah.
All right, Mr. Bolton made a motion that this be approved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Michael Bolton second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, open public hearing now for case number SC 23-46, which is BFLC 8 Mile Creek East, Phase 7.
I do want to clarify on your staff report, it was showing a 5-lot subdivision. This is a 19-lot subdivision. It is located in Planning District 13. It is unzoned. No traffic study required, no drainage improvements recommended. Potential wetlands are shown on the plat. This is your plat layout. Sheet 1, sheet 2. No impacts to drainage at this time. Utility letter provided. Wetlands have been reflected on the plat. And staff recommends approval subject to compliance with subregs along with the following conditions for approval. Show the existing water line once it's been located by the water provider. The wetland setbacks and buffers need to just have the label added to show that they're 30 foot and 15 foot respectively. Lot 7 has 2 areas with less than 40,000 square feet. We're just asking that a note be placed on the plat that indicates that the health department may require an engineered system for those buildable sites. There is an existing ingress-egress that's on the site that just needs to be labeled New Horizons Trail. Staff will grant administrative final plat approval once the revisions have been made to the preliminary plat and accepted by the staff. And then I'll answer any questions you may have.
Mary, I feel like we have gone through a bunch of these.
Yes, sir.
As long as they continue to be under 50 lots, is it not going to ever trigger a traffic study? Because, I guess if you put them together cumulatively, we've got to be approaching 50 plus.
We're probably well over 100 at this point in time. We do keep a spreadsheet going, and I believe that's something staff is going to be looking into.
Okay, thank you.
And we did actually mention it in this round. We consulted with Highway, and so we have been looking each month. We're kind of reevaluating to see if it's time to do another traffic study. They still feel like the overall traffic count is low, even though there are a lot of lots, because they're all so large.
Oh, yeah, and it's not a densely populated area, but, you begin to toy with, are you keeping it under a number so you never have to do a traffic study?
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Lot 7 and Lot 14 are almost unbuildable with being almost completely wetlands.
They have provided the uplands on here, and they are less than 40,000 square feet. So that's the note that we are asking them to show on the plat, that whoever does purchase these lots realizes that they may not be buildable. But that would be up to the health department to determine whether or not they're going to require the engineered septic system, or if there is sufficient location for water and septic on there.
To be clear, there's no evidence that any of these lots are non-buildable. But we've put a note on there to make it clear that there's not a lot of buildable space. You have to remember, some of these lots are huge. So the buildable space is still larger than they could get in a D.R. Horton subdivision or something like that that's buildable. The other thing to note is I believe they're utilizing the county wetland map here, or are these delineated wetlands?
Jurisdiction.
If they do delineate them, then they'll provide a delineation generally by Wetland Sciences. But if they don't do a delineation, then they use the county's mapper and show the 50-foot buffer.
Do we know what we have here?
Jurisdictional, I think.
These ones are delineated. Okay, so what you see here is the available uplands that they have to build on these lots.
Okay, any other questions? No one signed up? All right. I'll close the public hearing, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Mr. Davis made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Our next item we took care of earlier in the meeting, and we'll go now to case number, open public hearing for case number SPP 23-25, Dixon Farms subdivision. Ms. Waters?
All right, Commissioners, this request is for SPP 2325, Dixon Farm subdivision, a request for an 8-lot subdivision. Staff's recommendations with approval. This property is located in Planning District 18. Property is located south of County Road 38 and east of Lassiter Farms Road. The total of the property to be divided is approximately 119 acres. The smallest lot is around 2 acres and the largest around 69 acres. The owner and developer is Ms. Linda Dixon, being represented by EDG. No traffic study is required. Drainage improvements are being required, as well as common driveways. Here's a copy of your proposed plat, a zoomed in snip of the plat in red there showing the common areas that will be accessed for lots 4 through 3, 3 to 8. It's your aerial. Here is a drainage report that has been received and reviewed by the Highway Department. Utilities. They did have a wetlands delineation that showed isolated, non-jurisdictional wetlands, so they all have around a 5-foot natural buffer. And staff's recommendation of approval with the following conditions: that the common driveways shall be installed, inspected, and approved and accepted by the Baldwin County Highway Department before final plat application has been submitted. And also that the applicant will coordinate with the Baldwin County Highway Department to provide a retention area to accommodate lots 4 through 8 that will be reviewed during construction review prior to obtaining a subdivision permit. Then you have your general conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for staff? All right. Is the applicant or representative here? Do you need to speak? Okay. Ms. Linda, did you need to speak? Okay.
There was one person signed up for opposition.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have it broken down here. Let me.
They may not be here.
Tim Crum. All right, Tim's the only one I had signed in opposition. I had Chad Jordan and Michael Johnson. You two guys? Okay, so Miss Linda, nothing? All right. Best I can tell, that's all I had signed up. All right. All right, none of those speak. I'm going to close the public hearing.
I have a question. Where does lot 1, where's the drive for lot 1?
1 and 2 will be accessed through Lassiter Farm Road.
Okay. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve Dixon Farm subdivision subject to staff conditions.
All right, Mr. Cybers made a motion to approve. No second? Okay, Ms. Burnett second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll open up public hearing now for case number SV 23-8, Bryant Landing Family Subdivision.
All right, Commissioners, before I dive into this presentation, I just wanted to give you a quick preamble that this is not going to be your usual subdivision variances that you are used to seeing when it accommodates or comes with a large subdivision development. The request here in front of you is to actually allow the division through family division from a grandparent to a grandchild. Currently, there is no longer an immediate family member between those two, so therefore they are having to obtain this variance before they can proceed, the grandmother can proceed with deeding the property to her granddaughter. So I will jump right to it. All right, Bryant Landing Families subdivision variance. This is property located in Planning District 3, is unzoned. The total property area is approximately 4.8 acres. The total lots requested are 3 parcels, 2 of which the immediate family members are the son and daughter of Mrs. Serena, and the granddaughter would be the 3rd recipient here in this case. She would be receiving the 3rd parcel proposed. I'm kind of going to jump through these slides, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, but staff is recommending approval of this subdivision variance.
All right, any questions for staff?
And just so y'all know, Ms. Belton is the grandmother, and Ms. Belton is the granddaughter, and Serena Edwards is the grandmother, and the parcel that would be granted to the granddaughter is the one highlighted in yellow on your screen.
Okay. Any questions for staff? None? Excuse me, I'm having a look at, all right. Hartford Edwards, do you need to speak?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Hartford Edwards. I'm the executive of this property here, and I don't understand really what's going on. I've got a sign in my yard say proposed subdivision for this property, and I called down to see, and they said something to do with Sheila. Said that my mother, Serena was my mother. Sheila is the granddaughter. That my mama couldn't leave it to her, so I don't know exactly what's going on. So I'm here to see what's exactly going on.
Okay. Ms. Waters, explain to
we have a request for the granddaughter, Ms. Serena,
My mother.
to be deeded property to via family division. But since, according to the attorney's general opinion, a grandparent can't immediately dedicate property to a grandchild, so that's why they're having to go through the variance process.
So what do I have to do now? This is my daughter.
Okay.
So I heard the young lady say that what we're looking at, the yellow part, you meaning like the yellow box?
Hang on a second. He's going to get a mic so we can hear.
Thank you. When she said we're looking at the yellow, is it the yellow outline or the yellow box that
This yellow here, parcel B, is the proposed parcel being dedicated to the granddaughter, Ms. Sheila.
Okay, oh, okay, I see that. So it will be actually between the two, I see Bertha, so there's two daughters and one son. There's three siblings still there. And Sheila will get that part, whoever's moving the cursor.
Yes, ma'am.
That
So in the front, we have Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
Then to the west here on parcel A, we have Miss Mary Abney.
Yes.
And then to the east here on parcel D, we have Miss Bertha Watson.
Yes.
And then Miss Sheila here on the rear on parcel B.
Okay.
So all of these three other requests can be approved through the exempt process of a family exemption. But since Miss Sheila is not a daughter of Miss Edwards, we have to go through the subdivision process to continue through an exemption.
Okay.
It's almost a technicality type thing. I don't know, and I'm going to get ahead of myself, but I don't know that anybody's got a problem. It's just a process we have to go through because of the way the regulations are written. So we have to do in this case, we're doing a variance to make it happen.
So the granddaughter will have a piece there?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's the whole point.
Okay, I just...
Under normal circumstances, it would have been easy, but there's just a little caveat there that prevents us, the staff from doing it, so it made it come to here and to make it happen.
Okay.
All right?
And if this variance is approved, there is a condition that the deed is transferred to Ms. Belton.
Yeah.
That the deed of the yellow part.
Yes, that will be deeded.
That deed will go
To
to
Right.
Sheila, yes.
Okay? That make sense?
I see that, yeah, the yellow box. And I got the house seat up there, so that'll be the line. now.
Sorry.
It will actually be 4 different deeds.
And we're happy to meet with y'all after this. All that they're doing today is giving us the thumbs up to take the next step, and then we can meet with y'all on the specific parcels in more detail.
Okay? No, I understand. That's good.
Good questions.
Yeah, we want you to ask. All right.
So meanwhile, the sign stays in the yard?
Well, they'll pick that sign up. That's just to let them know that we're having a public hearing on that tonight. So.
I'm tired of people
In case you
stopping
have
and
any,
looking.
if you had any unruly neighbors, they'll come out and complain like you saw tonight, and so that's why they put it out there.
I'm tired of people stopping and looking.
I probably
wanna
shouldn't
buy
say it
land.
that way. Some neighbors are nice, and they come out and say nice things.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's not very often. All right. Any other, that's all I had signed up. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Any other questions? I think that's fairly straightforward. Ms. Waters, you had anything else on this?
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we approve the Bryant Landing subdivision variance.
All right, Mr. Cyrus made a motion to approve. Have a second?
I second.
Mike McKenzie, second. All right, no questions on this. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We got, I think, 2 more items. So let's open public hearing on case number SV 23-11, Two Lakes RV Park Phase 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I think we've already made our disclosures for the entire meeting.
Yep.
All right, very good. So Commissioners, I have a subdivision variance for your consideration, and this is related to Two Lakes RV Park Phase 1. And to refresh the Commissioners' memories, first of all, this is what you have on screen is the authorization that you have to consider subdivision variances. I'll lead off, Commissioners. Mr. Lieb couldn't be with us here tonight. What you see here on screen that was in your staff report was the rationale for the applicant's request, and the variance request is to not install the sidewalks in this subdivision, which is also an RV park, and we'll go through the background information. I won't review this word by word, Commissioners, but I tried to summarize the various actions on this property. What the Commission will remember is that this was a bit of an involved project because you had rezoning and a PUD and a PRD and some variances to make it all work together, because each RV site is its own lot of record. And so going forward here, Commissioners, probably, here's a zoomed in. And so the sidewalks you see called out here by the call out balloon, the developer is asking the Planning Commission to be able to delete those from the site. I won't go through the staff analysis line by line, Commissioners. What I will simply say here is that we have to follow the criteria in the subdivision regulations, just like we would in the zoning ordinance for a variance. And so we could not find any conditions, any criteria, anything submitted to us that would justify a hardship that would qualify for a variance in this case. The only exception to that would be 8.1D is that is not a factor. And we did go back and double check the PRD. They were not explicitly called out in the PRD, so that's why we're saying this is not a factor. But in terms of all the other approvals, this came through the Planning Commission, went through the Planning Commission approval process, and all the site plans reflected the sidewalks that are required. Where this triggers it above and beyond a typical RV park is that when you have a lot size less than 7,500, we have a lot size anywhere from 7,500 square feet to 20,000 square feet, it automatically triggers 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. And so the staff recommendation here is denial due to the lack of a qualifying hardship. Happy to answer questions from staff.
Are there setbacks on these lots?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to attempt to find that for you here very quickly. I haven't looked at this in a good while. I believe so. I believe so from my memory of reviewing this initially, and we can look here real quick and try to find that, answer that question for you.
Well, I'm asking the question because I'm curious about the location of the sidewalks to that, because the applicant is making a statement that the units would overhang the sidewalk. I would like to think there were setbacks that would put the sidewalk such that if there's an overhang, it means they're across the setback line.
So Commissioners, it may be a little difficult for you to see because of the lighting in here, but I've got the setback shown right here. I'm circling around it with my pointer. 30 front and rear, 10-foot side.
So there shouldn't be a unit hanging over the sidewalks, because then they'd be across the setback lines, right? Am I missing something here?
So you've got a 40 by 80 foot lot. Looks to be the typical lot. I've tried to zoom in on that for you on screen here. So therefore, that would give you, if you've got an 80-foot lot, so so there may be a Scrivener's error of some type in the original approval, Commissioners, and I'm a little caught off guard. And it may be that what your plat here is reflecting is what you would typically see for the greater piece of property, and there may be some documentation in here that addresses it on a lot-by-lot basis.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for not having a better answer for you, Chairman, because I haven't looked at this one in quite some time.
All right, any other questions for staff?
If it's 80 foot deep and they got to put a 5-foot sidewalk, at 75 foot, that's big enough for an RV, ain't it?
Well, Commissioners, keep in mind, too, you've got the let me go back here. So keep in mind, this subdivision, focus on the subdivision for a second. This is, if you follow my cursor right here, this is the outline of the actual lot. So they have a 50-foot private right-of-way, just like you'd have in any other subdivision that we would approve, and that's where those sidewalks would go, is in that private right-of-way, just like it would in a public right-of-way. So the sidewalk is not going to affect the lot itself.
Yeah, you answered my question. Thank you.
Very good.
Can you, a quick question, can you repeat that lot size real quick, please?
Sure. And Commissioners, I'm zooming in on that. It looks to be the typical lot size here is 40 feet by 80 feet. It's going to vary slightly because some of the lots are on a radius, but the typical lot is 40 feet by 80 feet. And the idea here is that you have a subdivision and an RV park where it's possible for someone to actually buy that lot and have fee simple ownership to it.
Okay, any other questions?
I can hear you fine, sir.
The applicant includes some examples there of some other RV subdivisions. Said they don't have sidewalks. Is that because they're in the city?
I'll confess to you, Commissioners, I did not vet those, thinking that some of the names I didn't recognize that may be inside some cities. And keep in mind, too, that a RV park that's also a subdivision is a rarity that this Planning Commission has considered. I think the only other example is Two Lakes RV Park, and it was approved several years ago. In general, most of the RV parks that we see are multiple units on a single parcel.
And I would also add that normally with an RV park, they request a waiver from sidewalks in the beginning when they're going through the review process. So it wouldn't have been approved with sidewalks and then later remove them. So this one could have requested that front potentially, but did not. It was approved with them in there.
Okay, I don't have anybody signed up, but is there someone that's the applicant or representative of the applicant here? No one?
And Mr. Chairman, I did get an answer to one of the questions that we had during the work session. I was able to exchange emails with Mr. Lieb, and he said that this is not a change of ownership, that the owner who went through the application process is still the current owner.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, then I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I make a motion we deny the variance request.
Okay. Mr. Davis made a motion to deny.
Seconded.
Second.
Rick Seibert, I heard him say second. So this is a motion to deny. Anybody have any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to deny the request is approved. All right, last item is public hearing for case number CSP 23-34, St. Michael's High School.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the staff report on this one was quite comprehensive, so I hope I covered everything for the Planning Commission's desires. So what I'll do, knowing that we had a pretty detailed staff report, I'll touch on the items the Planning Commission is normally concerned about on commission site plans for the sake of time. And so this request is a commission site plan approval request. This would be for a new football stadium and related facilities at St. Michael Catholic High School. And this is on their existing school campus where they have existing improvements. And just a quick reminder, this is in Planning District 15 along St. Michael Way. Most of us remember that as Dick Higby Road. What I will show you here, Commissioners, just to reiterate, this is the master plan of the site. And then the areas in green is what is before you today. The red areas are future improvements that we'll see in future commission site plans. All this is in your staff report that you see on screen right here. So we won't go into that in too much detail unless there are questions. Why are we here? We don't see this very much because most schools in Baldwin County are public schools where we wouldn't be reviewing this, but an auditorium or a stadium or a coliseum is an automatic trigger for a commission site plan since this is in RA zoning, as you see. One thing to touch on, Commissioners, there's a couple of conditions of approval. One thing that's come up when we were reviewing the site, the actual site covers a couple of different lots of a subdivision as well as a couple different meets and bounds parcels. So what you have on screen here, this is a subdivision we now have that'll come before you in December. That will clean that lot up, bring things into the subdivision and to be brought into the subdivision, and also erase common lot lines that will allow the improvements not to cross setback lines. And so we'll talk about that in a condition of approval here in just a moment. We won't go through all the extensive photographs in there unless there are questions. Another item that Planning Commission is often concerned about is waste handling. And so what we have on site and what I have for you right here is they've developed a waste handling scheme to handle football games. You see they've got a pair of front load containers existing, and what they'll basically do is empty those on the Friday before a football game when they have a home game, and then empty those on the Monday following to utilize what they have. And we can address that with a condition of approval if the Planning Commission has concerns about it. We have our turnout permit from Highway Department. We did consult ALDOT. They really didn't have any comments. They didn't feel, not any comments to the level that they would ask for any type of improvements or anything. We do have a condition of approval that the next improvements to the site would trigger a traffic study. Parking is another issue that Planning Commission often has a lot of concerns about. So this is the parking plan for game days for the site. As you see right here, the areas marked in yellow, they will convert some of the roadways to parallel parking spaces for game days to accommodate traffic. And you see I have call-out balloons there. And what they did is they prepared us an analysis because the zoning ordinance gives the ability to utilize projected attendees. And so they, engineer of record provided us some data and calculated that a need of about 364 parking spaces. What they're showing here would furnish 452, utilizing those temporary spaces as parallel spaces. And we'll flip through here. Here, just showing you very briefly the floor plan, a couple floor plans, concession stand, restrooms, elevations of the concession stand, also elevations of the football stadium bleachers themselves. Here, I wanted to include the section view so you can see the press box. Finally, Commissioners, another area of concern that we often deal with on commission site plans are landscaping. And the first thing that struck us here was that obviously with the football stadium and light towers, would there be any light pollution? So this site has a couple advantages. On the far west side, there's an existing heavily vegetated area that will remain, and the condition of approval factors that into place. Just to the west of there is a residential development going up inside the city of Fairhope. We're reserving the right to issue NOVs on anything if necessary should we have any complaints. And then at the bottom of the screen is one of the landscape buffers that will be installed with this project. On the north side is a future landscape buffer that is partially planted already that would be fully built out during a future phase of construction. And so we have a enlargement on this slide. This is utilizing good old-fashioned live oaks and good old Pride of Mobile azaleas. They neglected or decided to leave out understory trees in this one, and we'll leave that to the Planning Commission if it has any concerns with it. Because of where it's located and the likelihood of development near this area going forward, I don't myself have a problem with it, but since it is a slight departure from the zoning ordinance, we did want to bring that up if the Planning Commission wanted to consider it. In terms of the staff analysis, Commissioners, I'll just summarize it very briefly by saying that the future land use map doesn't contemplate a development of this type in this area, but this, of course, predated the current future land use map, plus the prior master plan named this site by name as a future school. So the conclusion here is that we will rely on the commission site plan approval process for this site. You'll probably see that in other sites going forward where something was developed or partially developed prior to the current future land use map being adopted. So with that, Commissioners, the staff recommendation, the first two slides are standard conditions that you're accustomed to seeing. On the next couple slides, what I'll take your attention to here is talking about the replat. The applicant has made what I think is a reasonable request, is that for the sake of timing and knowing improvements have to go in, they want to begin doing some foundation work. And so if it's a pleasure to approve item number 3, it would allow them to proceed with the foundation work before we get the CSP approval letter, because we need that replat to be accomplished. But they would not be able to get a final inspection from the building department until that CSP approval letter is submitted, which they can probably do that in reasonable amount of time. So item 3, call your attention here on this first page. And on the second page, again, we're memorializing some certain things within there, remembering that, you know, if we do get complaints about the site, we do have the ability to issue NOVs if should they ever be needed. And then some very generic things that will be updated to the drawings, items 10 and 11, before we proceed with the commission site plan approval letter. And so, Commissioners, with that, I am happy to answer questions from staff.
All right, any questions for staff?
Buford, there been any discussion of a road going all the way through to 181 and tying into St. Michael Way or heading to the north? It seems like there'll be a lot of congestion on that road.
That circles around to,
So, Commissioner, you can't see it fully,
it
but
comes around to Dick Higby and goes out to.
right, yeah. So you see, this is actually a new road right here. Right. So this, instead of having the conflict point you would create by a 90-degree intersection right there, this actual new road connects what was Dick Higby Road all the way back to 181.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a good question, though, and that's why we asked AlDOT to take a look at this.
All right,
That is Dick Higby on, that goes to 181.
Yes, sir, I think a portion of it is. Part of it's, because we had Higby Road and Dick Higby Road, and now we have St. Michael's Way, so I may have said that incorrectly.
Any other questions for staff? Mr. Bruce Smith, one of you guys here? All right. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept it.
All right. Mr. Bolts has made a motion that we approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
I heard Michael Mullick over here. All right. He seconded the motion. Do I have any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. That's all of our cases. We have also on the agenda to approve our 24-25 Planning Commission meeting calendar. Unless somebody has seen, I guess we all received that and looked at it, so unless anybody's got anything, I'll take them. I guess we need a motion to approve that.
Make a motion that we approve the calendar.
All right, Mr. Mullis made a motion to approve. Have a second? Mr. Seibert seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, our calendar is set for the next year. Any public comments? All right, under reports, staff reports.
Only thing I'll say is we are working on having a little Christmas social after the December meeting. I was trying to keep that agenda short, but it's not going to be short. So it'll be voluntary. I'm not going to make staff stay or anything like that, just because I know everybody has lots of obligations that time.
Just leave us the key.
But we will try. We are going to try and have something put together on that.
Legal counsel, filling in tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anybody have anything? I'll say it. I appreciate all of you. Appreciate you being here. It's good group. We've had good attendance, and I think that speaks well for the group. So thank you for attending. Our next meeting will be December the 7th. We are adjourned.
Hey, I got one thing to say.